First thing I'd like to say is I want to thank God for giving me the opportunity to be here today to say my testimony in front of all of you and in front of God. I know the people that know me know I get a little nervous speaking in front of people, but a miracle had happened to me, and it's something I have to testify to. I know the devil was trying to hurt God last week to try to keep me from testifying. The battle, I think, between the devil and Jesus this past week to try to keep me from testifying, I can't even imagine how that must have been. But Jesus won. I'm here to testify. On July 11th, Sunday, 2 weeks ago, my son asked me if I wanted to take him surfing. I've been trying to teach him to surf periodically the last few years. And we went out. We went to a place called Zuma Beach. I've been surfing since I was probably 6 years old. Consider myself a fairly strong swimmer. I've been surfing this particular beach, since I was 14 years old. I know this beach like I know my backyard. We got to the beach. The beautiful day, it was a sunny day, but for some reason the surf was overpowering. It was huge. It was probably 15 to 18 feet, the waves. But still felt the urge to go out and teach my son. He wanted to go out. Usually when I go surfing, I go directly out to the waves and I start surfing. This day, for some reason, we stood at the water's edge, and my son kept asking me, why aren't we going out? And I told him, I said, it doesn't look right. And he kept asking me, why aren't we going out? So I hesitated. We went back to our chairs, and I said, we'll wait a little while. And we'll wait till it calms down, and then we'll go out. It just didn't seem safe. So about 45 minutes went by, and we decided to go out, and we had a tough time. It was rough. It was really big. And we were out there for about 10, 15 minutes. When we came back in, I was really tired. He was exhausted. We did this probably 2 or 3 more times throughout the day. Then at the end of the day, we were just about to leave, and I knew my son, as usual, he always wants to go back in one more time before we leave. At this time, the tide had gone out. The surf got even bigger, even more powerful. It was probably 4 or 5 feet shallow, so that means the power of the wave was even greater. We did the same thing. We stood at the water's edge, and I've been looking at the waves for the last 45 minutes, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And we watched it, and I knew it wasn't right to go out. And he kept asking me, when are we going to go out? Are we going to go out? And I said, okay, let's go. And the very first wave that came crashed in front of us, and it took me under really hard, and I hit the bottom, knocked the wind out of me, hurt my shoulder, and I felt like I was under the water for at least a minute and a half. Made it to the surface. I looked for my son, because he was right next to me, and I didn't see him. A couple of seconds went by, he finally popped up, very scared look on his face. I looked at him, I said, are you okay? And he said, I think so. And he asked me if I was okay. I wasn't okay, but I didn't want to tell him because I know he would try to come over and help me. Another wave was about to come, and I told him to swim in as fast as he can before we had to go underneath another wave, because we weren't far out enough. We were in the midsection. And so he did, but I couldn't swim. My shoulder hurt, and I was out of breath, and I was tired. The next wave came. I knew if I had to go underneath another wave, I wouldn't make it. I just knew it. So the next wave came, I went underneath it, same thing happened. I hit the bottom, it knocked the wind out of me. I had the opportunity to pray. I had two prayers. One was to ask God to help my son make it to shore safely. The second one was to help me make it to the surface so I could see that my son made it to the shore safely. Because I didn't want the last image in my head of my son struggling. I saw the next wave coming. There's no way I was able to swim to make it over it, so I knew the surf was going to crash and I was going to have to go into the white water again. I knew that was it. I was prepared for it. Because I couldn't breathe, I couldn't swim. I went under it. Somehow, I managed to make it back to the top. When I made it back to the surface, I looked to my left, I looked to my right, and I looked straight ahead of me. The ocean just stopped. There were no more waves. I was the only one out in the ocean in that particular area. I got on my back and I started kicking my feet because I couldn't use my arms to swim into shore as fast as I could before another wave came. It was probably, I would say, 6 or 7 minutes before I was able to make it back into shore. I've been surfing this beach, like I said, for 14 years. I've never seen, at any given time, the whole beach not have any waves. Especially for 6 or 7 minutes. There was no waves for me to make it all the way from where I was, far out in the ocean, all the way in the shore. Just before I got to shore, I felt 2 arms pick me up from underneath my shoulders, and it was my son. And he brought me in the rest of the way. And he asked me how I was, and of course I told him I was fine, everything's fine. Tried to play it off, because of course I didn't think that I was in too much trouble, but he knew. The experience that I had throughout this, I was very emotional the rest of the day. I spoke to my wife, Pastor Rashad, called me that night, and it's just an overwhelming experience from that day to today. God saved me.
Amen. Amen.
God transformed me.
Amen.
Since the day I was baptized from Pastor Rashad, April 28th, 2006, I thought I was transformed that day. I was transformed even more.
Amen.
That Sunday.
Amen.
My son and I went back out last Tuesday, same beach, same location. And my son, we went surfing. I had no worries whatsoever. None. I prayed before I went out for the first time ever in my life. And I prayed before I went out surfing. I will pray every single time I go out surfing from now on. We had the best time ever. My son, when we were in the ocean, my son kept asking me if I was okay. I know he was transformed too. We talked about my experience, same as I'm speaking to you today, the whole day that we were together on Tuesday. I thank God that I'm here today to be able to see you testify.
Amém. Glória a Deus.
That day, Sunday, 78 people were rescued by lifeguards. One person, 29 years old, his name was Jose Garcia. He died on that beach. He wasn't able to surf. He was just in knee-high water, and a riptide came and took him out to sea. They weren't able to retrieve him for hours because the surf was so big. I was out in the ocean by myself that day with my son. He was able to paddle, and thank God. I didn't have a lifeguard to rescue me. But I know today that I have my own personal, almighty lifeguard.
Amém. Glória a Deus.
I want to thank you all for being here to witness my testimony. I really do.
Amen.
If you don't mind, I have one. My wife sent me a Bible verse. I don't know if it was that same night or the day before. It was definitely appropriate to my situation. It's Psalms 91:11. I'll leave you with this. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. That he did.
Amém.
Amen.
Amém.
Thank you, Gerry, for this tremendous testimony. Thank you for sharing with us.
Amém.